Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to crochet this little bumblebee. For this pattern you're going to need some yellow yarn, black yarn, a little bit of pink yarn for blush, and some white yarn. You're also going to be needing a darning needle, kind of like this, some scissors, and some stuffing. If you would like to follow the written instructions, I have a pattern on my Etsy shop in the description box below. There will also be a link in the comment section if you want to click on it and follow the pattern. However, if you don't want to follow the pattern, that's completely fine. This video is free, so feel free to watch this video on how to make this bumblebee. To start off your bumblebee, we're first going to go ahead and make a magic ring. And we're going to go ahead and chain 1. For round number 1, we're going to go ahead and do 6 single crochets into this magic ring. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you have your 6 single crochets, go ahead and pull on this small strand of yarn to close your magic ring. Don't close it all the way because then your first stitch is going to be very hard to work into, but just lightly close it. Don't pull it too tight. And now we're going to go ahead and start round number 2. For round number 2, we're going to do an increase in each of the 6 stitches. An increase is basically doing 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So we're going to go ahead and before we start round number 2, we're going to go ahead and grab our stitch marker and place it right after our last stitch that we did. So right after our 6th stitch. And now we're going to start round number 2. So go ahead and insert your hook in through your very first single crochet and do a single crochet, and at the same exact stitch do another single crochet, and that's how you do an increase. Go ahead and do an increase all the way around until you get back to your stitch marker. You should have a total of 12 single crochets. Once you've made it all the way around, you should have a total of 12 stitches, and now what you want to do is you want to move your stitch marker up, and now we're going to go ahead and start round number 3. The repeat pattern for round number 3 is going to be 1 single crochet and 1 increase all the way around. So in the very first stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, we're going to do an increase. And we're going to continue that all the way around, so single crochet and an increase, all the way around until you get to the very end. At the end, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Once you've made it to the end, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Now go ahead and move your stitch marker up, and now we're going to start round number 4. The repeat pattern for round number 4 is to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So a single crochet in the first stitch, a single crochet in the second stitch, and an increase in the third stitch. So go ahead and repeat the pattern of 2 single crochets and an increase all the way around until you get to the very end. You should have a total of 24 stitches. Once you're done with round number 4, we can go ahead and pull on the small yellow strand that tightens at the center hole now. Now we can pull it all the way tight to secure the center loop. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to round number 5. So go ahead and move your stitch marker up, and now we're going to start round number 5. The repeat pattern for round number 5 is to do 3 single crochets and an increase all the way around. Again, we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase all the way around until you get to the very end. You should have a total of 30 stitches when you're done. I'm here at the end of round 5. I have a total of 30 stitches, and I'm going to move my stitch marker up, and we're going to move on to round number 6. The repeat pattern for round number 6 is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase all the way around. At the end, you should have a total of 36 stitches. Once you get to the end of round number 6, you should have a total of 36 stitches, and now we're going to go ahead and stop doing increases, and we're just going to work a continuous pattern. So now what you want to do for round number 7 is first move your stitch marker up. For rounds 7, 8, and 9, so for the next 3 rounds, we're just going to place 1 single crochet in each stitch around, keeping a stitch count of 36 each round. So we're just going to do 3 rounds of single crochets. So go ahead and single crochet around for 3 rounds until you get to the very end. Make sure that at the end of each round you have a total of 36 stitches. And I will meet you when I'm done. Feel free to pause the video. Once you've done your 3 rounds of single crochets, we're going to go ahead and loosen up our yarn, and we're going to go ahead and attach the eyes and mouth. So what you want to do is you want to make sure the part where you are crocheting still is going to be facing the bottom. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our eyes. Now if you have the safety eyes, all you have to do is you have to place them in between rounds 5 and 6. But if you don't have safety eyes, because I don't have safety eyes, I'm just going to go ahead and use some darning needle and some yarn. And I will show you how to sew on the eyes with this. To start sewing on your eyes, again, make sure the place where you are single crocheting is at the bottom. So this is where we left off. Make sure it's facing the bottom. And what you want to do is you want to count 5 rows this way. So this little center circle counts as round 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And our eyes are going to be placed right here in between rounds 5 and 6. So you're just going to go ahead and insert your hook through any one of the stitches on the side and bring your yarn through. And then go ahead and bring your darning needle through one of the bottom stitches, so the stitch right below where you inserted your needle, and bring it through like so. And now you're just going to go ahead and just go around that a few times. So just go back above, and it's easier to hold the yarn in from the back, and then go towards the bottom, pull it through, go back up, and back through the bottom, basically just going back and forth a couple of times to get the thickness of the eye that you want. I'm just going to do it a few more times. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it one more time. And I think that's good. Once you get the thickness of your eye that you want, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and face it the opposite way and just tie the black yarn from the inside just to make sure that it doesn't come loose. I'm going to go ahead and tie it a few times. And then once you think it's tightened enough, go ahead and snip off your yarn. And now you're going to do the exact same thing to the opposite side. So this is where your first eye was placed, and now we're going to go ahead and place your second eye an even length apart. So this one was placed between rounds 5 and 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This is round 5, and after that eye is round 6. We're going to do the same thing in this direction. So there's round 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5, and this is 6. All you have to do is you have to make sure that they look even. They don't have to be exactly the same number of stitches apart. They just have to look even. So again, round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in between round 5 and 6. Just make sure that where you're placing your eye is even. That's good. And just do the exact same thing that you did. Bring your yarn through. Bring your needle through the stitch right below where you inserted your needle through. And then just go back and forth a couple of times. Again, recheck to make sure that the eye distance looks even. And then just go back and forth a couple of times until you get the eye thickness that you want. I think that is about the same size. Just pull on that a little bit and just go ahead and flip it inside out again and tie the strands of yarn, the black strands of yarn, to make sure that the eye doesn't come undone. And then go ahead and snip off the excess yarn. And there you have your 2 eyes. Now we're going to go ahead and add the mouth, and you can use the same exact yarn for the mouth, or you can use a thinner piece of yarn. I'm going to just use the same because I have enough left. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and find the very center of your bee, which is just this little middle circle right here. And you're going to go ahead and bring your darning needle through the stitch right below that center circle. So this is the center circle that I'm talking about, this one right here, and we're going to bring our darning needle through the stitch at the very bottom. So bring your darning needle through the stitch from the inside of the bee. So that stitch right there, that's the stitch that I'm talking about, right below the center circle, and bring it through. And now you're going to go ahead and find your center again. And you're going to go find the right side of that center, the stitch that's right on the right side of it, and you're going to bring your darning needle through that stitch, like so. And now you're going to go ahead and find your center stitch again, and now we're going to go find the stitch that's on the left side of it, so right next to it on the left. And go ahead and bring your needle through from the inside, through that stitch, and just bring it back through the bottom. And there you have your little smile. And now you're just going to want to flip it inside out and fasten off by tying it together. I'm just going to go ahead and tie it up. And I'm going to go ahead and snip off my excess yarn. And there you have your little face. And now we're going to go ahead and continue with our crocheting. I forgot to mention that we have to add the pink blush, so we're not going to continue crocheting just yet. That was my bad. We're going to go ahead and add the blush. If you don't want to add the blush, you can go ahead and skip this part, but I am going to add some blush. And to add the blush, we're basically just going to insert our hook right below the eye from the inside, like so. And then find the stitch right next to where we insert our hook, and then bring our darning needle through that stitch without breaking your yarn, like so. And you can go in just one more time to thicken up the blush. And now you can go ahead and cut that piece off and tie it from the inside, like we did with our eyes. And do the exact same thing on the other side. So go ahead and insert your hook from the inside right beneath your eye. And then bring your darning needle through the stitch right next to your eye where you inserted your hook, where you inserted your needle, And then I'm just going to go over that one more time. And now I'm just going to go ahead and tie the pink yarn from the inside to fasten off. And there you have your blush. And now we can continue crocheting. To continue our bumblebee rounds, what we're going to do is we're going to now change color to black. So when we left off, we did our 3 rounds of single crochets, keeping a stitch count of 36 in each round. And now we're just going to do more single crochet rounds except in the color black. And how I'm going to go ahead and change my color is I'm just going to go ahead and chain 1 and snip off my yellow yarn and pull through. And now this is the piece that we have. And now we're going to go ahead and grab our black yarn, and we're going to go ahead and make a slip knot like so. And we're going to place our hook through the very last stitch that we did. So right there we have our chain 1 that we did, and that is our very last stitch that we did. I'm going to insert my hook through that stitch. I'm going to grab my black yarn through the magic ring, through the slip knot, and I'm just going to pull it through like so. And now we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet into the very next stitch. The very next stitch is this stitch right over here. Not this one, because this stitch is attached to this, but this one right over here. So go ahead and insert your hook through that stitch and do a single crochet. And now we're just going to go ahead and single crochet around. Make sure you have a total of 36 stitches once you're done with this round. And you're going to know that you finished this round once you get back to the black color. So just single crochet around, keeping a stitch count of 36, and you should end off right here where your black began. And I will go ahead and do this round with you. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, I've done my 36 stitches and I've made it back here to the beginning. And now I'm going to go ahead and grab my stitch marker once more and place it right after my last stitch that I did. And we're going to do one more round of single crochets using our black yarn. So just go ahead and single crochet around with our black yarn, keeping a stitch count of 36 until you get to the very end. Feel free to pause the video and I will meet you when I'm done. I'm here at the end of my second round of my black yarn. I have a total of 36 stitches still. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and switch back over to our yellow yarn. And again, we're going to do the same thing that we did while we were switching to black, which is we are going to go ahead and chain 1 and snip off a small strand of yarn and pull it through. And now we're going to go ahead and remove our stitch marker and grab our yellow yarn. And with our yellow yarn, we're going to go ahead and make a slip knot. And we're going to insert our hook. I know these stitches are hard to see, so I apologize. But we're going to go ahead and insert our hook into the very last stitch that we did. So not the chain, but the very last single crochet stitch that we did, just like how we did with our previous rounds. So once you insert your hook, grab your yellow yarn and pull it through that stitch. And now we're going to go ahead and single crochet into the very next available stitch and start doing our single crochet stitches. The very first stitch might be a little difficult to do. And once you have your very first single crochet, just single crochet around, keeping a stitch count of 36. When you're done, you should end up right back where you started with your yellow. So go ahead and single crochet around, keeping a stitch count of 36, and I will meet you when I'm done. Once you have your 36 stitches, you should end up right in the beginning where you inserted your yellow yarn. And now we're going to go ahead and grab our stitch marker and place it right after the last stitch that we did. And we're going to do one more round of single crochet in our yellow yarn. So go ahead and single crochet around with your yellow yarn, keeping a stitch count of 36. And feel free to pause the video and I will meet you when I'm done. I am back right here at the beginning, and now we're going to go ahead and switch out to our black yarn once more. And I'm not going to show you the repeats because they are going to be the same exact thing as these two rounds, so I'm just going to verbally tell you. So we've just done our 2 rounds of single crochet with our yellow yarn, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and switch back to our black yarn. That's a tongue twister. So we're going to go ahead and switch back to our black yarn by chaining 1, snipping off our yarn, making a slip knot with our black yarn and inserting it through the stitch, and single crocheting all around, keeping a stitch count of 36. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 rows of black yarn and 2 rows of yellow. So right now we have 1 black, 1 yellow. We're going to have another black, another yellow, and another black. So that's what you guys are going to do as a repeat, and I will show you what it looks like in just a second once I've completed it. But what you're basically going to do is you're going to switch your color once again and do 2 rounds of black, switch your color again, do 2 rounds of yellow, switch your color a last time and do 2 rounds of black, and then I will show you what to do next. So go ahead and switch out your colors and do that pattern continuously again and again until you have 3 strands of black and 2 strands of yellow, and I will meet you once you are done. I'm going to repeat how to do that one more time just so it's not confusing. So we just finished our 2 rounds of yellow. We're going to go ahead and chain 1 and snip off a small strand of yarn, and we're going to change our color to black. Then we're going to do 2 rounds of black, and then we're going to go ahead and change our color back to yellow, and we're going to do 2 rounds of yellow. Then we're going to change our color back to black, and we're going to do 2 rounds of black, and then I will meet you when I'm done. And you can go ahead and rewind the video to see how we did these first 2 rounds, but I'm not going to show you that for the next 4 rounds. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like just now. I'm going to go ahead and finish it, and I will meet you when I'm done. I have finished my rounds of switching my colors, so we ended off together on this second, this little yellow strand, and then you were supposed to change colors back to black and do 2 rows, and then back to yellow, do 2 rows, and back to black to do 2 rows. So you have 3 rows of black and 2 of yellow. And now we're going to go ahead and switch our color back to yellow. So chain 1, snip off our yarn, and remove our stitch marker. Go ahead and grab your yellow yarn and make a slip knot. Bring it through the very last stitch that you did, not your chain 1, but the very last stitch. Bring your yellow yarn through, and then insert your hook through the very next available stitch and do a single crochet. And for this very next round, we're going to do our decreases, so we're going to have a repeat pattern again. So the repeat pattern of this round is to do 4 single crochets and a decrease, which I will show you. So we have our first single crochet, we're going to do 3 more for a total of 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to do a decrease. Now you have the regular way to do a decrease or the invisible decrease method. I'm going to show you how to do the invisible decrease because I just think it looks prettier. So to do a decrease, insert your hook through the very first stitch of your next stitch, the front loop of the stitch right after. You have 3 loops on your hook, grab yarn, pull through 2, grab yarn, pull through 2. If that's too difficult, then you can just insert your hook through your very next stitch, grab yarn, pull up, insert your hook through the next stitch, grab yarn, pull up. You have 3 loops on your hook, and using that same 3rd loop right there, you're just going to pull it through the other 2 stitches to do a decrease. You can do either method. I'm going to do the invisible decrease method, and we're just going to repeat the pattern of 4 single crochets and a decrease all the way around. And at the end you should have a total of 30 stitches. Feel free to pause the video and I will meet you when I'm done. I'm here at the end. I finished the round off with a decrease, and now we're going to go ahead and place our stitch marker right after our last stitch, and we're going to move on to our second decrease round. So the second decrease round is going to once again have a repeat pattern, and the repeat pattern is to do 3 single crochets and a decrease. And I'm going to show you how to do a decrease again because I feel like this lighter color is easier to see. So to do a decrease, an invisible decrease, you can see that we have 2 loops. This little V formation, that's 1 stitch, and we usually go through both of those loops. But to do an invisible decrease, we're just going to go through the front loop of the very first stitch and the front loop of the very next stitch. And now you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to grab yarn and pull through the first 2 loops. And now you have 2 loops left. You're going to go ahead and yarn over and pull through those 2. And that's how you do an invisible decrease. And again, our repeat pattern for our second decrease round is to do 3 single crochets and a decrease all the way around. You should have a total of 24 stitches. For our third decrease round, move your stitch marker up, and the repeat pattern for our third decrease round is to do 2 single crochets and a decrease all the way around. At the end, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Again, do 2 single crochets and a decrease all the way around until you get to the very end. You should have a total of 18 stitches, and I will meet you when I'm done. Feel free to pause the video. Once you finish your third round of decreases, you should have a total of 18 stitches. Now you want to go ahead and grab your stuffing and stuff your bumblebee as much as you can. And I'm going to go ahead and do it off camera, but you just want to go ahead and loosen up your yarn like so and stuff your bumblebee. Once you've stuffed your bee as much as you can, we're going to move on with our crocheting. For our fourth round of decreases, we're going to go ahead and move our stitch marker up first of all. And our repeat pattern for this round is 1 single crochet and 1 decrease all the way around. At the end, you should have a total of 12 stitches. Once you've gotten your 12 single crochets, loosen up your yarn again and stuff the rest of the bumblebee. And for now you can take out your stitch marker because you're not going to really need it anymore, but just go ahead and stuff the rest of your bumblebee. And once you have it stuffed, go ahead and insert your hook back into your bumblebee, and we're going to go ahead and do our last round of single crochets. So for the last round, we're just going to decrease all the way around, and at the end you should have a total of 6 single crochets. So we're going to do a total of 6 decreases. There's 1 decrease, 2, 3, 4, oops. Once you have your 6 decreases, what you want to do is you want to chain 1 and cut a long strand of yarn, I'd say about 6 to 9 inches, and then pull it through. And now you're going to want to go ahead and grab your darning needle and insert the long strand of yarn that you just cut into your needle. And now we're going to go ahead and sew up this small hole that you have left. So to sew it up, you're just going to want to go back and forth through each of the stitches, like so. sort of like one of those backpacks that you just have to pull on the string to close, drawstring backpacks. So this is, you're just going to go back and forth like a drawstring backpack. And once you've gone around all the way, just pull on it to close the loop. And to fasten off, you're just going to want to bring your yarn through one of the stitches, but don't pull it all the way through, and bring this yarn through the loop that you just made and close it off like so. And now to hide your tail, just bring your yarn through a couple of stitches like so. Make sure you don't pull too hard because you don't want to make the bee have a little bump on the side. It's going to look a little unnatural. Once you fastened off, just go ahead and cut the excess yarn off. And there you have your bumblebee body. That's how it looks like. And now we're going to go ahead and move on. Now that we're done with the bee, we're going to go ahead and work on the wings. To start off the wings, we're going to go ahead and start off with a magic ring. And we're going to chain 1. Into this magic ring, we're going to go ahead and do 6 single crochets. Once you have your 6 single crochets, pull on your small strand of yarn to close the center loop. But don't pull it too tightly or else your first stitch is going to be very hard to work into, so just pull it lightly and you can pull on the rest later. For round number 2, you can use a stitch marker to mark your place if you want to. I personally don't want to because the wings are fairly small and don't consist of a lot of rounds, but if you want to put a stitch marker, you can. So we have a total of 6 single crochets. For round 2, we're going to do an increase in each stitch. But instead of doing single crochets, we're going to do half double crochets. To do a half double crochet, you yarn over, insert your hook into the next available stitch, grab yarn, pull up. You have 3 loops on your hook, grab yarn and pull through all 3 loops. And that's how you make a half double crochet. Now we're going to increase in each round. So in the same exact stitch, we're going to do 1 more half double crochet. Now do 1 half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. You should have a total of 12 stitches when you're done. So right now we have 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We have a total of 12 half double crochets, and now we can go ahead and pull in the small strand of yarn to tighten up the loop in the center. There we go. And now we're going to move on to round number 3, which is our final round. And now we're not going to do half double crochets anymore. Instead, we're going to do regular double crochets. To do a double crochet, you yarn over like how we did our half double crochet, insert your hook through the very first stitch, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's how you do a double crochet. Now the repeat pattern for round number 3 is 1 double crochet, increase, 1 double crochet, increase. So we've done a 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, we're going to do an increase with our double crochets. So there's 1 double crochet, and into the same one, we're going to do another double crochet. Again, the repeat pattern for round number 3 is 1 double crochet and an increase all the way around, and you should have a total of 18 stitches. So right now we have 3. There's 4, and then 5 and 6 are increases. This is 5, and this is 6. 7 is a regular double crochet. 8 to 9 are increases. 10, 11, and 12 are increases. 13, 14, and 15 are increases. 16, and 17, and 18 is our last increase. And there you have one of your wings. To finish off our bee, we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next available stitch that we have. and we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and cut a long strand of yarn. I'd say about 9 inches, because we are going to use it to sew onto the bumblebee. Now feel free to rewind the video and watch how to make the wing again, because we need to. So just go ahead and make your second wing exactly like this. Feel free to pause the video, and I will meet you when you're done. I've gone ahead and made my 2 pieces, and before we sew these onto the body, what I like to do is I like to grab my darning needle. It's right over here. I'd like to grab my darning needle, and I'd like to sew in the yarn that is from the middle, so the yarn that's attached to the magic ring, not this long strand of yarn that we cut at the very end, but the one that is attached to the center. I like to sew this in so it doesn't get in the way while I'm sewing the other part of the yarn onto the body. So that's what I'm going to do now. All I'm going to do is attach the yarn to my darning needle and bring it through my wings. You can sew this or hide this tail however you'd like. I just like to bring it through like so, only a little bit, and then snip the rest off. And I'm going to go ahead and do that to the other piece. And now that I have the pieces sewn in, I just have these 2 long tails. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sew these on. Before we sew it on, I just like to tell you which part of the wings is going to be facing outward. So the nicer part, the one where you can see the stitches better, is going to be facing outside, while the not so good part is going to be facing inside. So on the bee, the wings are going to be like this, and the bad part is going to be over here, and the good part is going to be over here. If you want to switch it up and you want to do it the opposite way, feel free to do that, but that's just the way that I'm going to do it. So how you're going to sew this on, let me just zoom in real quick. You're going to want to find the very center of your bee. So you want to go down from the corner of your mouth all the way up to the second black stripe that you have. So just go ahead and find your center, and that's going to be the middle of your 2 bees, of your 2 wings, excuse me. So one wing is going to be like this. Let me grab the other wing, and the other wing is going to be like this. So that's how it's going to look like. If you want to do it differently, if you want your wings to be a little apart, or if you want them to be sewn together, that's completely up to you. I'm just going to show you the way that I like to do it. So once I figured out where I want my wings to be, I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn to my darning needle. If I could get the yarn through. Once you have your darning needle attached to your yarn, you're just going to go ahead once again, find the center, and then you're just going to go ahead and sew on your wings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and bring my darning needle through one of the stitches on my wings, pull it through. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and find my center, and I'm going to bring my darning needle through one of the stitches and then pull it through. And then I'm just going to go ahead and sew back and forth, making sure that my wing is aligned and even. And I'm just going to go ahead and sew it back and forth. You can sew this however you'd like. I'm just sewing it the way that I prefer and how I find it easier. And once you have it sewn, all you have to do is fasten off like so, and then bring your darning needle, your white yarn, through your wings like so. Just bring it through, and then once it's through, go ahead and snip off the excess yarn, and there you have your very first wing. I'm going to go ahead and attach the other wing off camera, but you basically just need to put it next to it and see however you want to put it on that makes it look even. And I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. I've just attached my wings and this is how it looks. You can face the wings this way or upward, that's completely up to you, but that's basically how you make a bee. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you happen to be using my Etsy pattern, I hope that you found it helpful. If you have any comments on how I can improve the way that I write my patterns, please let me know, because I am trying to improve. I'm trying to make the pattern as easy to follow as possible. So please leave me constructive criticism so I can do better next time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye! I hope that you do enjoy this video, and if you see my pattern, I hope you enjoyed the pattern. I hope that the pattern is easy to follow. Anyway, now that's out of the way, now we can begin.